My name is Dr. Jamal Bryant. I come from the state of Georgia, the only state in America that has sent a Jew and a black man to Senate. I come to you today from the state of Georgia, where black women have set the standard that everybody is accountable, even if you are the former president of the United States of America. When we look at the past 60 years, we have to do measurement as to how far we have come. But this week in Fulton County, when it is that the former president said that he weighed 215 pounds, it became evident that America doesn't know how heavy the burden has been for us to handle oppression in this system. How heavy it is for teachers to have to buy their own school supplies. How heavy it is for writers who cannot write checks for their own rent. How heavy it is for you to get a scholarship to run a football, but cannot get an academic scholarship because of your mind. Ladies and gentlemen, I have come 60 years later because we need to serve indictments to those who have been adversarial to the advancement of our people. We need to give an indictment to Mr. DeSantis, who has operated in diabolical satanic form if he thinks that he can throw off that slavery was nothing more than trade school. He needs to be served an indictment if he is trying to ban books. What he doesn't know is too late, because Negroes already know how to read. We have already read The Bluest Eyes. We've already read Their Eyes Are Watching God. We've already read Before the Mayflower. We have already read what it means to be black in America. There needs to be an indictment against Governor Abbott in Texas, who has unwillingly put migrant workers on buses and have separated children from their parents and still has not rejoined them. If he wants to put somebody on a bus, it should be Ted Cruz, who has been putting black and brown people under the bus. We came today to serve an indictment on Clarence Thomas, who has filled the seat of Thurgood Marshall, but is not worthy of tying Thurgood Marshall's shoes. And his wife is an unindicted co-conspirator on what took place on January 6th. I came to serve an indictment. An indictment when it is that $25 billion is getting ready to go to the Ukraine, but nobody is saying anything about what's happening in Somalia and Niger and in the Congo. There needs to be an indictment on record companies that have tried to sweep away conscious hip-hop and do away with the voices of KRS-One and those who elevated us to understand that we were kings and queens, and now glorify poverty and not promote addiction and marginalize misogyny. Something is wrong. There is an indictment on churches that are silent, but they speak in tongues, but don't speak truth to power. An indictment to churches that only give out communion, but do not feed those who are living in food deserts. An indictment of those who have multi-million-dollar buildings, but close a blind eye to those who do not have a standard of living. There has got to be an indictment. And ladies and gentlemen, 60 years later, we understand that Dr. King was right, that this is the urgency of now. And if there is an indictment, then there's got to be fingerprints. And I want to say to the black and brown community, put your fingerprints all over deeds. Put your fingerprints all over degrees. Put your fingerprints on LLCs. Put your fingerprints on corporate ladder. Put your fingerprints on the necks of those who believe that white supremacy is palatable. We are not the generation who's going to sit down and be quiet. If you don't believe me, take a one-way trip to the dock of Montgomery, Alabama, and there you'll find out that no weapon formed against us will be able to prosper. Ladies and gentlemen, 60 years later, we still are not free, but we know how to last. We lasted through the Middle Passage. We lasted through Jim Crow. We lasted through mandatory minimums. We lasted through the prison pipeline. We lasted through Donald Trump. And still we are here. And 60 years later, we stand on the shoulders of our ancestors who could not stop at hotels, who could not eat in restaurants. But we've come now not just from Morehouse and Hampton and Howard. We've come now from Johns Hopkins and Yale and Princeton, understanding the words of Langston Hughes. You may write me down in history, but I too sing America. They ask me to laugh when company comes, but I just smile and know that I am America. They didn't think that we were going to make it, but God did. We started at the bottom, and we're still here. 60 years later, I don't want to be here marching. I want to be celebrating as our black daughters are the governors of Georgia and the vice president of the United States. Still, we rise.